Hello and welcome to Mountain Patriot Homestead. We are in the kitchen. I'm going to get an apron on and let's get cooking. It is definitely winter here in the Ozarks, and we have received over the last couple of days a fairly good snowfall for this area. And with that type of weather always comes the little sniffles and coughs that just result from the weather change. So today I'm going to be making a recipe that I find to be not only a comfort food for me, but also a healing food for those sniffles and coughs. So today we are going to make a chicken noodle soup. Now that sounds very simple. When I was a little girl, it was a treat to have that can opened and put into a little pan and have that, there would be maybe, if you were lucky, would be two pieces of what may have been chicken that were maybe about that big, and some of them little slick noodles and very little flavor. My favorite was the chicken and stars, but as an adult, I know as far as health wise and taste wise, I prefer just making it myself. So today I am going to be taking a chicken and we are going to get it in the pot, add as much flavor and as much healthy benefits into it as we can with what I have on hand, and we're going to cook up a pot of soup. Now this recipe that I'm making is not really a recipe, so I am not going to be telling you to put a certain amount of ingredients or spices or herbs or whatever in here, because I want you to use what you like. Now this is garlic powder, and we like a lot of garlic, but garlic is also very healthy for you whenever you have the sniffles. It helps kind of keep, again, I am not a doctor, but in my opinion, it does help keep colds at bay. And this is some poultry seasoning. Again, I am using what I have and to the taste that we like. If you don't like poultry seasoning, by all means, don't use any in it. Use what you have and what you like. Now this is a little bit of ground mustard. Mustard is also very good for you, and I'm just going to put just a little, because mustard is one of those that you can overdo real quick, and this is not like your mustard that you squirt on your sandwich. This is actually powdered mustard, so be very careful. Don't inhale this or you won't be having a very good day. But that is just a little bit of something I like. Here is another ingredient that is very good for you, especially for colds and things. It helps open up those sinuses, and it's just some red pepper. Again, if you don't like red pepper, don't use red pepper. Now this is something I'm going to use sparingly because I will taste later to see if I need any more. But remember, it's easier to add more later than it is taking it out, because once it's in there, and it's salt. And since I'm going to be using some bouillon, I'm not going to put just a whole lot of regular salt. I'll come back and taste it later to see if I need more. And of course, some black pepper. Please, if you're not sure about amounts, this is a very forgiving recipe. You just put in there what you think needs to be in there. or a little less than what you think needs to be in there, and then you can always add to it later. Just test it and taste it. This is just some bouillon, some chicken bouillon. I really like that better than bouillon that comes in a jar. But since I have such a big bag of this, I figure I'm going to go ahead and use some of that. And let's see what else I've got over here. Okay, that was my spices and flavorings, I guess. So next I'm going to get to my dried stuff. And I love bay leaves and things. And so these are kind of little. So I'm going to put, about 4 little pieces in there. If, you know, if they were bigger, I'd just put a couple, but that's plenty. And then I raise my own fennel, and I just kind of like the taste of fennel, so I'm just going to put just a little sprinkle of fennel. Again, I'm using what I've got. Use what you've got, use what you like. And here is some dried celery that I had raised. It's the leaves off the top of the celery, and it smells, you know, I'm not a huge celery eater, but the homegrown, I'm sorry, there is a stem in here that I'm trying to keep out, but home-raised celery just seems to taste so much better to me than store-bought. I mean, maybe it's really not, but maybe it's a mental thing, but it does taste really good to me, and it smells, it has a really good smell to it. So just putting a little bit of that dried celery leaf in there. So that's what it looks like in my jar. It's kind of pretty. And I've got some dried onion here, homegrown dried onion that I've just dehydrated. And I love onion in soup. To me, it just kind of bumps up that flavor. And dried onion, or dehydrated onion, just has such a sweetness. You can just smell the sweetness when you open up the jar. Now this one is a little different. This is dried greens. When I have some greens left over at the end of the harvest, I will just dry them up. And when you want to give a bump of health to any of your dishes, this is a good way to do it, especially for people that don't like greens. If you've got kids or adults that don't like greens, this is a good way to get some greens into them without them noticing, because they won't have much of a flavor, but they will contribute greatly to this dish. Now this is some dried basil. You can see I'm almost out of this jar, and it is I don't like regular basil. To me it stinks, but this is the blue spice basil that I get the seeds from Baker Creek. Not advertising for Baker Creek, just telling you where I get them. And I can step out in my yard when this stuff is growing, and the scent of it, the fragrance, just comes across the yard and smells like the sweetest perfume. It smells so good. Okay, so I've got my dried stuff in there, and let's get some wet stuff in here. So hold on just a second. This is some broth that I had made previously and had it in the freezer, just saving it for sometime when I got ready to cook some more chicken and dumplings or chicken soup or whatever. So this was some homemade broth that had been previously made, and I put that in there, and I'm just going to add some water to this. Alright, I am just adding more water to this because I want that chicken covered. I want it to be able to cook and just have all of this deliciousness surrounding it. And we will check on it ever so often, and when it starts falling off the bone, that's when I will take this meat out and we will continue. There is one more thing that I almost forgot to do. I like to put about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar into the water because that does help leach extra calcium from the bones, and any extra health benefits that we can get from this is better. So I've added just about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. I've got it on a medium-low heat, and I'm just going to let it cook low and slow until that meat starts falling off the bone. So the chicken has been removed from the bone. I've got it shredded back into the pot, and I'm going to bring it back up to boil. The chicken and broth has come back to a boil, so now I'm just going to add in my egg noodles. You can use whatever type of noodles that you'd like. I have put in various type of noodles together, depending on if I had a little of one thing, a little of another. Also, you could peel potatoes, put them in here. If you like cooked carrots, you could put carrots in, because not only is this a delicious, healthy meal, but it's relatively inexpensive in the fact that it can feed a pretty large number of people just by varying the amounts of liquid that you add. If you've got more noodles, if you don't have as much chicken, maybe you just have a little bit of rotisserie chicken left, or you just have a couple of leg quarters or something like that, you can really stretch a meal by making it into soup. So I'm just going to let these noodles cook up, and then we're going to give it a taste. Alright, I have got my bowl of soup here, and my noodles and broth and everything is just smelling so good. And let's just give it a taste. Rich, warm, and wonderful. I don't know if this will cure what ails you, but it'll sure be comforting. If you're a chicken noodle soup fan, unless you have no choice but to use the stuff in the can, and by all means, if that's what you've got, that's what you eat, honey. But if you are able to make your own, look in those cabinets, look in the refrigerator, look in the freezer, and you put what you've got in it, and you make it wonderful, and you enjoy it. I am going to be hopefully starting soon a new series, and I hadn't decided on a name yet, but it's going to be something like bargain buggy recipes or something to that effect. I want to share a few ideas about how to take things that you find in clearance buggies at your grocery store and make delicious recipes, meals, desserts, whatever we come up with. Gonna see what we can come up with. Can you come up with a name for that new series? If you have an idea, let me know down in the comment below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment, share it, share this channel if you like it. If you haven't subscribed, please do so we can have you back here again. And I love y'all, and I do hope you come back. But in the meantime, you have a good evening. Mountain Patriot Homestead, signing out.